G'day, Grooveroonies. I've started my live half an hour early. Aloha, Francesca. Welcome to the Shxtty Kitty Kitchen. Feel free to come and go as you please. I'm going to be cooking for a couple of hours. I've got a lot to make. And because I'm sort of ready to start a few dishes, I thought I'd get a move on. Hey, Deb. Good to see you, gorgeous. So we're going to be doing quite a few things today. Typical Sunday for me, if I'm home, is to muck around in the kitchen. I like meal prepping. My work days are pretty full on, and it's nice to come home at the end of the day to something that's already cooked and you just need to heat it up. And also take homemade lunches to work as well. You like the book holder, the little one here? Yeah, I like it too, but I've had people turn their noses up at it because it's rose gold, but I love it. It's the best recipe book holder I've had. I've just got things I've ripped out of magazines today because I'm going to be doing, I'm gradually cooking my way through magazines and getting rid of them, like saving the recipes if they're amazing and ditching them if they're not. So we're making a few things today. We're going to make a soup. Today it's a caramelized onion, bay leaf and milk soup. Yum. I'm trying to make things that are pretty affordable too, the way the food prices are at the moment. So like a bag of onions, a kilo bag of onions for me was $4, so it's a pretty cheap meal. And then we're going to make a variation, like I make a salmon and boiled egg pie with a mashed potato topping, but I've got a bit of fennel that I want to use up, so I've ripped out a recipe that's a fish and lemon pie, and I'm just going to try and combine the two. I just want to add the fennel. It's going to make it go a little bit further as well. Yeah, rose gold is naff, but the design is nice. Thank you, Francesca. It's cute. It's cute. It's the only rose gold thing in the house, you know. You've got to have one rose gold thing. Then I'm going to do, my sister and I last weekend went for a drive in the country, and there's lots of little roadside organic stalls and stuff like that, and we grabbed a few bits and pieces on the way, including the bit of fennel. So I've got 4 apples, so I'm going to make these baked apples, and they are baked with ricotta, spices like nutmeg and cinnamon, walnuts, cashews, and ricotta. They sound kind of yum. And yeah, I do that, Deb. I just tear out the things that I think I'm going to make and then have a crack, and if they're great, I save them in my little recipe folder, and if not, see you later. Hey, beautiful Scout, great to see you. Oh, we introduced, everyone got to meet Johnny Depp, the baby Tasmanian devil, and this month our sponsored animal is going to be a little baby wombat. But I'm going to get a move on. I'll start cooking and I'll chat as I go because I've got to cook the onions first. They're going to need to roast for about an hour. So first thing I'm going to do is chuck the oven onto 220, which is pretty high. And for those of you in Fahrenheit land, that's 425 Fahrenheit. This recipe, there is a link in the description. The other two I'm kind of making, I didn't put the recipes up. So if you want to sort of make notes or whatever, Scout, I'm going to take up your suggestion and start time stamping recipes when I put them onto the Shxtty Kitty Kitchen. I just haven't done any of them yet. But yeah, so if you want to learn the baked apple recipe or the pie, which is 90% out of my head, but because I'm incorporating fennel, I'm going to use the start of a different recipe just to get all of that stuff cooked and sorted out as well. Up my volume a bit. Really? Let's see what's going on there. It's up full bore. That's a bit weird. I wonder if it's full bore on my computer too, and I'm using my, oh, sorry, it's jumped over. Every time you move your computer, hopefully that will fix it. I'll just wait and see. Like every time you unplug or log out of StreamYard, it goes back to default settings, and the default setting is always the camera's microphone, but I don't have a mic on my camera, so it's probably my laptop that was just picking up background noise. But no, hopefully now that I've nominated my microphone, let me know. And while you're getting to me on that, I'll at least get the onions because we're going to be roasting them. But yeah, hopefully Sound perfect. Awesome. Yeah, it's bloody StreamYard. It's the same. I've remembered to click echo cancellation too when we have a mid-afternoon break. So if I play some music, it doesn't do your heads in. So first up, we need a kilo of onions, and this is a kilo. It's basically a bag of onions, 6 onions. See and hear everything perfectly. Awesome. So we're going to just prep the onions for some roasting, and they're going to roast in their skins as well. Adds flavour. I'll keep this bowl handy for all of the compost and so on. But, yeah, to get a kilo of onions, just think 6 brown onions, and you don't have to be overly precious with them. Keep the skin on. And we're just going to cut them into wedges. Very rustic cooking, but this all adds flavour. And what do we say at the Shxtty Kitty Kitchen? Rustic cooks are not lazy cooks. They're groovy cooks. Rustic is the way to go. You want to keep things really simple. You know, one of the reasons I think people don't like cooking is because recipes can just be so finicky and overcomplicated. But just be rustic. Cut corners. I honestly think my rustic style of cooking the food is better than people who finally chop everything within an inch of their lives or millimetre of their lives. I always think rustic, bit chunky, bit crunchy, whatever is the way to go. So quarter up the onions. That's all you got to do. I'm going to take that extra bit of skin out. But we need to get a baking tray. I still haven't replaced my amazing baking tray with a new one. So I'm using these shitty ones. What did I do with the baking paper? There it is. So just a bit of, you're going to have a shower. Oh, listening in the shower, Francesca, kinky. Baking paper, I think you guys in America call it parchment. Just chuck that on the bottom of your dish, your tray, and then chuck the onions on. But everyone loves a French onion soup, right? So this is a slightly different variation. It's more of a milky, oniony, bay leafy. It sounds really good. I haven't made it before. It's a guinea pig recipe. So just whack all the onions and all the bits and pieces that came off them onto the tray. Spread them out. No peeking. We won't peek. But if anyone's visualising you, that's their issue. I have absolutely no say in that at all. And now what we're going to do is we're going to sprinkle salt over. You can use, you know, just use your rock salt. Don't use that fine white powdery shit. But just make sure you get a good amount of salt in there. Some cracked pepper. It's up to you how much you like to season, but I think the more the better. Make it robust because this is a milk-based soup. You can always add more seasoning when you're eating it as well. But I think if you're going to be roasting it for an hour, you might as well put a lot of yummy stuff in there. And then we're going to use some white vinegar. Now, white vinegar, I did actually Google this so I could learn you guys some stuff. This is Squeaky Gate. But this is white vinegar as opposed to white balsamic as opposed to a white wine vinegar. If you can't find this, and I had no troubles at all. I bought this bottle at Coles for $5 yesterday. You can use white wine vinegar. It's just a bit more acidic than if you use or balsamic. One or the other. One's more acidic. They didn't tell me which. But, yeah, I just found this in my supermarket. It was easy to find. And we want a tablespoon of that. Which is roughly that amount. I'll just do it in my head. It's less things to wash. You like white balsamic? Yeah, it's yummy, isn't it? I haven't had it for ages because I've been using up a bottle of white wine vinegar. And then when I pulled the white wine vinegar out to do this recipe, I was like, oh, that expired in November. And it's probably still fine. Like vinegar does hold a shelf life, but there was like a centimetre in the bottle. I was like, well, I need to buy more anyway. So I went with the white balsamic this time. But yeah, just give that a little bit of a sprinkle over. And then lastly, we're going to put some olive oil, about 2 tablespoons of olive oil. And then we want to cover it all, give it a good massage. I did wash my hands before I went live. But if anyone's overly concerned, these are going to be roasting at 220 degrees Celsius for about an hour. So there's not much risk of any bacteria. But I did give my hands a good scrub before I went live. And as most of you know, I wash my hands a shitload while I'm cooking. So tuck a little bits of skin in there because you do want them to add to the flavour. And that's all you've got to do. I'm just going to wash my hands now. And then we're going to put a little lid of aluminium foil. It doesn't actually say on our foil, it doesn't say the word aluminium, but or alfoil, as some people in Australia call it. And we need a big enough piece to essentially act as a lid. Over the onions. Get my mouse out of the way. I love how you cook a splash of this, a pinch of that, a sprinkle of. Very much old style cooking. And I do try to choose recipes and stuff that you don't need fancy gadgets, or I'll give you alternate gadgets and stuff like that that you can use. But as you guys know, the best, I think, kitchen appliance is your hands. Now I'm just going to bring the chopping board back over, and when that oven gets up to 220, I'll whack them in. Let's clean up a bit of this shit. Because I'm now going to, while the oven's heating up, I'm going to peel some potatoes for the mashed potato topping for the salmon pie. I do try to do one recipe at a time, but when you've got vegetables that need to roast for an hour, we've got to get on with things. But hopefully it won't be too confusing. I did think about whacking the onions in before I went live, and then I was like, no, just do it as we go. So I'm just going to peel some spuds. Helps if the peeler's up the right way, to make mashed potato topping for your fish pie. Now, fish pie, you can just get like a baguette and slice it up and brush butter on it on one, like put it on top of the pie, brush some butter on it. This peeler is annoying. You can't beat these little cheap and cherries that you get from the supermarket, honestly. Yeah, so you can put really thinly sliced baguette on top of your pie and then brush that with a little bit of oil before you pop it in the oven. But I have this bag of potatoes, and I love mashed potato. So that's what we're doing. But we'll get the spuds on too, because they'll take a little while to cook. And we'll pretty much be doing the pie, making the pie while these onions are cooking. Although after I've got the the potatoes on for the mash, I'm then going to do the base of the soup, so some flavours can infuse in the milk. But yeah, thank you, Scout. I try to do old school cooking. Mel's an old school cook too. And if I get time, I will write the recipes out. But honestly, they're pretty standard things that you'd be able to find a similar version. But also, I'm all for people kind of working out how things work for them. And it's getting a bit dark in here. Hang on. Put those lights on. What are you guys all having for dinner or breakfast or whatever you're eating? Half of you are probably ready for bed. Mash with truffle butter, best thing you've ever eaten. Yeah, funny, I have actually got some truffle oil, Deb, but because it's a salmon dish, and I'm going to fancy it up with a bit of fennel, I'm not actually going to use the truffle oil, but If I was doing a mashed potato with some red meat, oh, bring it on. But truffle's way too strong, I think, to have with salmon. I mean, we're talking tin salmon too, so I'm trying to do the affordable cooking. I had a look at my freezer and found all the bags of passion fruit pulp, and even though they're still like crazy expensive, I think I will have to show you guys how to make that passion fruit curd because it's so yummy. And you've got to stand and stir it for like 20 minutes. I'm like, why not go live? They can keep me company while I'm stirring these friggin' thingamybobs. Steak, mash, and spinach salad. Yes, Francesca, that sounds delicious. I'm not actually cooking with any spinach today. I'm a bit I mean, I do always have a bag of spinach in the, well, I don't right now. I usually have a bag of spinach always in my fridge because I chuck it in everything. But not today. I've had a lot of spinach. Even my mac and cheese that I made a couple of weeks ago had spinach in it. People were like, you can't do that. Well, I did. It was delicious. Whoops. It's a shame Sunny doesn't eat potato skins because one just jumped on the floor for her. Poor Sunny, before I was getting all the stuff out of the fridge that I need, like the fennel and a few other bits and pieces, and the fennel rolled off the bench and rolled on top of her head. She was down below eating some of her kibble, and she got clonked on the head. Well, she wasn't on the head, it was on the back by a bit of fennel. Oh, my God, you should have seen the look she gave me. And I was like, I didn't make that happen. I was nowhere near it. I gave her a treat. But, yeah, she was furious. How dare you, face? I was like, nowhere near her. I'm like, can you check the distance between us? This is actually impossible for me to have done. I normally do a bigger potato when I do potato mash, but these are pink eye potatoes, and they're generally smaller, so there's a little bit more peeling, a bit more labour intensive than usual with my mash. We had homemade potato and egg salad and macaroni salad for dinner because it was so warm. Yeah, I've been hearing some of the temperatures, like everyone was saying, oh, we're not having much of a summer, and then bang, it was crazy hot. Do love both of those salads. Yum. Sounds delicious, Scout. Deb did some cooking today. Do you want to tell us what you made today, Deb? Deb's getting into the Sunday. Oh, and everyone's got to wish Deb a happy early birthday. It's her birthday tomorrow. So many birthdays in July. I've had a really good friend's 60th, my niece's 16th. Another gorgeous friend just turned 55, the one I was chatting to yesterday when you guys were all expecting me to go live to introduce Johnny Depp. I've got my sister-in-laws coming up. I've had another really close friend in Adelaide. It was his birthday. July's busy for birthdays. I reckon it's because it's sort of the babies are conceived heading into summer in Australia. Like the parents are starting to go, oh, it's getting warm. We don't need to live in beanies and boots, and we're half naked in our summery attire, and they're all like, bow, chicka, bum, bow, you know, around November. That's what I think's going on there. Tassie pink eyes are fantastic. They're a great spud. Although people can't believe we have a potato called pink eyes, and then they eat them and they're like, oh, my God, they are so delicious. But they do have a little thing, little nubbin that looks like a little pink eye. I'll show you one. See the little eye of the spud? It's probably looking a bit browny or purpley even, but yeah, they sort of have a pinky colour. Deb made burnt cookies, veggie soup, taco mince, and a curry for the week ahead. See, she's organised. And you were asking me who I was feeding. I'm actually being a bit... Well, I mean, I'm not. Someone will end up dropping in, or I'll drop in and see someone. I take food to people. wherever I go. Someone will score something. But at the moment, I've got dinner for tonight. I love salmon pie, and I've got different veggies to have with it each night. So I've got my salmon pie for 3 nights, and then I will freeze some of it because it's just one of those things when you're going to work and you're like, shit, what can I take out of the freezer for dinner tonight? And you spot a salmon pie in the freezer. It's like, oh, my God, hell to the yes. So I'm probably just going to keep all of it here. Now I've got freezer space again. The soup, I don't know how it'll freeze because it's a milk soup, and it's going to be my lunches for the next few days as well. I don't think I will tire of this soup because it sounds quite light, and I'll be able to get different. I mean, it sounds flavoursome, but not like a heavy soup. I'll be able to get some yummy different breads to have with that, but also I always freeze a couple of portions of soup. And my sister and brother-in-law love my soups. So if I catch up with my sister and I've got a couple of things of soup in the freezer, I'm like, hey, take these. The baked apples, there's only 4 of them, and they probably won't be as nice tomorrow as they will tonight. But the ingredients they've got, like they've got ricotta, cashews, walnuts, nutmeg, and cinnamon. And I love porridges and stuff like that. So what I'm actually thinking of doing is freezing them after I've cooked them, and then taking one out like on a weekend and making some porridge, and then heating it up a little bit and having that all in a big yummy breakfast bowl. Pink eyes can only go with duck river butter. The oven's still not quite at 220. Yeah, happy birthday to Deb for tomorrow. Happy birthday to Deb for tomorrow. So, yeah, the baked apples, rather than try and eat them for the next few nights, I don't normally do a dessert. I'd rather get home and have my salmon pie with some yummy veggies. I've got Brussels sprouts. I've got beans. And I might even have some spinach before. Well, I might get some on Wednesday when I do my next little shop. But I am specifically buying what I'm eating and cooking. Oh, and because I've got ricotta, this is where ripping out recipes that you want to try is a good idea, Deb. So because I've got some ricotta for the apples, I'll still have some left over. So then I found a recipe for some roasted cherry tomato pancetta and ricotta pasta. So I'll probably go live on Wednesday maybe and show you how to make that. But yeah, I'm trying to use everything up because food's just crazy. Like I had to do a fairly basic shop yesterday. There wasn't anything particularly large or expensive. I mean, probably the most expensive thing in the basket was Sunny's food, and that was like $12.50. And it was $120. And I'd swear to God, I could have gone through the 12 items or less thing. It's insane. And that wasn't, I mean, I have to do supermarket shops probably once a month just to get cleaning products and Sunny's food and stuff like that. But I was like, whoa, that's cray. All right. The spuds are done. The oven's on. It's at 220. So I'm putting our beautifully prepared onions into the oven. And they're just going to sit in there and roast for about an hour. Hey, Google, set a timer for 1 hour. Hey, Google, turn the volume up too. Thank you. Okay, so the onions are in, and like a soup I made the other day, I didn't go live because I was under the pump, but I made a roasted sweet potato and coconut soup, and it was really delicious. But that one, I actually roasted the sweet potato for an hour too. It makes such a difference to the flavour in the soup to give them a really good roasting. So now I'm going to put my spuds in a pot of water with some salt And we'll get these on the boil to do the mashed potato. And just a tip, guys, with potatoes, for mashed potato or any kind of potatoes, put them into the pot when the water's cold. Don't boil the water and add them. Bring them and the water to boil together. It cuts their cooking time down significantly, and it stops you having those horrible undercooked potatoes because everything else is ready for dinner except your spuds. Just cut them up roughly the same size. And there's no way the potato is going to fully cover the dish that I'm going to do the pie in. So I'll show you what I do. I actually just have the potato in the middle and spread it out as much as I can. But yeah, it doesn't need to go all the way out. You put them in cold water too. Yes. Did your mum teach you that, or your grandma? So the spuds are on. So that's for the salmon pie that we're doing later. So now we're going to do the base of the soup. That's the breadboard towel. There's a piece of onion. All right, so to do the base of the soup, very straightforward. We're going to put in a pot. I don't know if you guys want... Hey, look at me. This time I've put all of the ingredients and everything I need over there, so I've got bench space behind me as things are used, so I don't end up with a gigantic pile. Your mum did it that way. Yeah, my mum did too. Someone taught him how to do it. So yeah, we've got a bit of pot cam happening. And because I'm using a lot of pots, I'm not using that big enamel pot that I often make my soups in because there's just no room because it kind of overhangs the other elements as well. But anyway, we're going to put into the soup pot. I'm not used to having the ingredients over there. I'm standing here going, where's the milk? So you need 1 litre of milk. Whatever kind of milk you do. Don't forget, guys, clip those any circular rubber plastic things. Clip them before they go in the bin. And also, I learned the other day, which is something I haven't been doing. We've been taught to, when you're recycling like plastic jars or, containers that look like jars, little animals getting their heads stuck and saying, make sure you put the lids back on. But like our recycling doesn't actually recycle a lot of the lids. And I saw someone talking about it the other day saying, don't just put your jars straight into the recycling, put the lids back on them. And I actually called the recycling depot and they said, look, most people do put the jars back on, the lids back on, but we do sort the lids because some of them are recyclable. So just so everyone knows. But I never thought about that, like a plastic peanut butter jar, for example. Give it a rinse, the lids can't be recycled, so just put in the plastic container. But, yeah, animals get their heads stuck in those as well. So put the lids back on and let the recycling depot sort them out. So we whack 1 litre of milk. I like the lactose free. I'm not actually lactose intolerant. I just like it more than other milks. But if I was doing a dinner party, I would actually lash out and get, yummy dairy milk from just down the road. Oh, that just splashed up all over my olive oil bottle. Clean as you go. Got some jizz on it, poor little fella. God, how funny was Finn the other night in batshit with all the different penis things and those squirting sea urchins. It got to the point I don't think he knew where to look. Poor guy. So 1 litre of milk. A garlic bulb. And a bit like our onion, we're just going to cut him in half and stick him in the pot. A little bit of garlic can go in there too, because that is ultimately going to come out, the bulb of garlic. And then my sister, even though they've moved down the road from me, her last place had a bay tree and she picked a whole heap of bay leaves, and I've still got a massive jar of bay leaves, which I love. But you want to put 2 bay leaves into your... I'll be very sad when these are all gone. Homegrown bay leaves. So yeah, a couple of those are going in there as well, and we're going to bring this to just below the boil. So you want to go onto a high heat, but right before it starts to boil, because it's milk, we're going to turn it off because we don't want burnt milk. I'm even putting things away as I go. I'm so organised. I'm just going to chuck the lid over the top of that to speed up the process. But yeah, we'll bring that up to the just under the boil. And then take it off the heat and just let it sit there and let all the flavours infuse. So it's pretty easy and straightforward so far, guys. Like, there's really not a lot you can fuck up. You can freeze bay leaves, but they're also fine in an airtight jar. I mean, I've got curry leaves and kaffir lime leaves in my freezer, but those bay leaves have just been sitting in a dark cupboard, like in the back of the pantry in a jar, and they're fine. I mean, they lose their colour a bit, but the flavour's still there. You forget to take the bay leaf out. You use 2% milk to make your soups creamy. Well, we're adding cream to this soup, so it's going to be creamy. But basically now, as far as this goes, we're just going to get that up to the boil and take it off the heat and let it sit there with the garlic and the bay leaves until the onions are done. And obviously you want to let them cool down a bit because they're roasting. But when they come out of the oven, we're just going to remove all the skin and whack the onions into this recipe says whack them in a blender and then add them to the pot, which you're welcome to do. But I'm going to put it all straight into the pot and use a stick blender. We're not mucking around. And then we also are going to add some cream and warm it up. And then I'm going to be garnishing that with some caramelised onion out of a jar and some thyme out of my garden. So that's the soup, pretty much. So let's get on with making the pie. And I'm trying to work out how... What I might do is move the potatoes over here. Turn that back element off and we'll use the front one to do the pie. Now, like I said, this pie dish is largely just something I've been making for years. It's kind of the same process if you were making like a tuna mornay, but this is like a salmon mornay, I guess. And then my grandmother used to always add slices of hard-boiled eggs to her salmon pies, and then I do a mashed potato topping. So it's kind of a home, like it's just a recipe it's in my head. You've got lazy with your Thermomix, aka the German pot of death. Have you had it explode on you? Because, God, I used to love watching the videos on YouTube of people with, because I was very anti-Thermomix, and I used to love watching people with exploding Thermomixes. I'm just going to put these aluminium foil and the baking paper away. I'm trying to clean up a little bit as I go. I'm not going to go over there and do the dishes or anything, but I think life will be a bit easier if I clean up a little bit. Actually, before I get on with the pie, I'm just going to push together some little breakfasts for the next couple of days. So my sister bought me this for my birthday, and it's a pepperberry chai and seed overnight bircher muesli. Yum. So I'm going to make a couple of jars of that. So I might as well do these actually while we're waiting for other things to cook. And bircher muesli, just like any little jar will do. But if you find these sort of sachets of bircher muesli to make at home, they're really good. I mean, this one is packed with yummy stuff. It's got sunflower seeds, sesame seeds, hemp seeds, flaxseed, coconut flour, chia, chai spice blend, pepperberry, cinnamon, ginger, clove, nutmeg, and cardamom. That's a chai spice blend, and sea salt. So yes, always ground chia seed. Really? Stop. Hey, why? The bloody thing covered the kitchen in soup. I've heard of that happening before. I've heard about people choking on chia seeds. But what's the deal with the ground? I mean, let me have a look at this. I reckon they have already been ground. Yeah, I often make it on my own. Like I make my own bircher muesli. But when you get one from, oh, yum, that smells so good. It looks like the chia seed have been ground. The only seeds that haven't been ground in there are the sesame seeds. Or the chia. I don't know if that's going to focus. But yeah, I cannot see any visible chia seeds. I believe they've already been ground. But they can cause, yes, they can. And I'll remember that in future, but I normally don't bother. I just chuck them in. So a couple of tablespoons of this ready-made chia bircher muesli goodness. Hey, turtle dove. And then, depending on whether you're making one or two of these little groovers, here we go. If you're making one, you just, if you've got a really small apple and you're making one, you just grate up the whole apple. Or I'm doing two and I've got a fairly large apple, so they'll each get about half of the apple. How you doing, turtle dove? You'd put that on a cream cheese bagel or toast with cream cheese. Yum. So these are just little breakfasts for the next couple of days. They're just a little overnight bircher muesli combo, although it's a chai flavoured. It doesn't have oats. It's like a gluten-free version, I guess. Mum did grind all that. No, like a bit of roughage. But, yeah, it's all whatever works. But everything looks pretty ground in there except for the sesame seeds. Your mum had a Thermomix and it exploded? You just got home from a subpar date. Tell us all about it. Oh, shit. Who wasn't watching the soup? God damn it, I boiled it. Hopefully not for very long. Oh, please tell me that I didn't just burn that. I'll just take it off the heat and God damn it. A watch pot never boils, but you start digressing and talking about chia seeds, and the next thing you know, look, if the soup's just for me, and look, it's a caramelised onion soup. If it's a bit, if the milk's a bit caramelised, so be it. Oh, a grater like that. Yeah, I love this grater. I mean, I've got microplanes and I've got a very fancy Joseph and Joseph grater and stuff, but I always go back to the old faithful. Don't get me wrong, this fucker is still incredibly sharp, even though I got it when I was at uni. And it'll take half your hand off. But anyway, assuming we didn't let the milk get to the point that it was actually boiling, just take it off the heat, and I'm going to let the garlic and the bay leaves and the milk just all hang out together, and I'll taste it, and if it tastes ridiculously burnt, I won't use it, but if it tastes all right, then we're good to go. So I'm going to just, with the grated apple, just put, half of it into each jar. Shove that apple in. I'll read about the date in a minute. I've got apple and all kinds of stuff happening, and I've possibly just burnt the milk soup, so I will be onto the date news very shortly. Just get this apple into these 2 jars. Yum, 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 yum. And then with this pre-made chai, pepperberry and chai birch muesli, you can use whatever liquid you want. You can use milk, coconut milk. You could use a fruit juice, any type of fruit juice. You can even use water. But I'm like, hell to the no, we're using milk. And you want to put half a cup. And I am measuring this because I think some things ratios are important. But then I was thinking, watch me spill this. You should have used a little jug, you dumb fuck. But whack your milk into the jars. And then give them a really good stir. You can shake them if you want, if you've got a good airtight lid. Get it all mixed through. 1 bit of apple. Yummy apple. 2. Shaking's actually the way to go. It gets all the bits off the bottom. And that's it. In the fridge they go. And in the morning you've got beautiful, yummy overnight birch muesli, and you can put whatever you want on top. Crushed nuts, some fresh fruit, some tinned fruit, some coconut yogurt, any type of yogurt. But they're a good little grab and go, because I often do the gym first thing in the morning and I don't feel like eating the second I get home, but sometimes I'll have a little pot of birch muesli sitting in the cup holder in my car with a teaspoon, and I'll eat it while I drive to work. So that was done. Forgot to put the element on for the spud, so they're going to be a while yet. All right, let's see about this date. You've made a lot of chai, but not a fan. My friend who makes chai by hand up in Byron, her chai is absolutely delicious. But, yeah, I mean, I love it. My sister can't stand it. So I suspect she bought that sachet and then realised it was chai, and she's like, oh, no, I'll give it to Tori. All right, he talked up his dick and it was big enough, lasted less than 5 minutes. Tragic. Good heavens. And he talked about, so he shaved you for 5 minutes and talked about crypto for 3 hours? Bloody hell. Yeah, exactly. As if men are not boring enough, they add crypto to it. I disassociated after the first 15 minutes and thought about grocery list. Yeah, I'm surprised you didn't disassociate 1 minute into the shagging and think about your grocery list too. And then you finally this is great detail, Turtle Dove. He was like, no round 2. I was like, I have to go home. I forgot to water my plants. Oh, my God, you're such a trick, Turtle. I'm so glad you found us. All right, I'm just going to taste my burnt milk. Not burnt at all. It's, oh, my God, it's delicious. Yum. All right, so that's just going to sit over there and soak up all the yummy goodness. And then we'll do the pie, but I think it's time we all have a bit of a music intermission. This is 100% more fun. Thank God for that. And like I said, I am going to just do a little bit of fennel and a few other bits and pieces that I don't normally put into my salmon pie, but because I've got them, use them. But, yeah, I think it's time for a quick intermission, cigarette break out on the deck. So I'll put on a bit of music. But if you don't have ciggies, you might want to pour a glass of wine or go to the toilet or do whatever you want to do. And I'll see you back in here in a few minutes when we get on with the fish pie. She is one of us. Stoked that she found us. So I've got a little song lined up. I've got echo cancellation switched on. I'll just double check before I hit play. Yep. So, yes. Why not? Why not? You should just marry the internet. Don't. It'll mess with your head as much as a dude will. All right. Oh, no, I don't want to listen to that passenger song. Hang on. I wanted a boppy passenger. Hang on. All right. I'll see you all again in a few secondos. Enjoy this divine human being.
Every cloud wrapped round town like elastic. Cars are like toys with Taiwanese plastic. Boy laughed and spastic, dancing around in the rain. While laundries clean clothes, high heels rub toes. Puddles splash puddles of bus stop crows. Dressed in their suits and their boots, they all look the same. Took myself down to the cafe to find out. Boys lost in boats and crackling vinyl. Carved out a boat above the urinal, the red. Don't you cry for the lost, smile for the living. Get what you need and give what you're given. Life's for the living, so live it, or you're better off dead. By the evening, pulled the moon out of its pocket. Stars shone like bubbles on an old man's jacket. He didn't nail the road tactics and it fell off the wall. Wild pigeons begged trains, sparks flew like planes. The rain showed rainbows in the oil stains. We all had new iPhones, no one had no one to call. I stumbled down to the stomach of the town, where the widow takes memories to slowly drown. With her hands to the sky and a mist in her eyes, she said, don't you cry for the lost, smile for the living. Give you what you need, I give you what you give. Life's for the living, so we live better off dead. I'm sick of this town, this blind man's worry. Take your dreams down, stick in your storage. You can come back when you paid off your mortgage and loans. Oh, hell is this place, I go my way. I stick out my phone, I trust and I highway. Someday, someone must be going my way home. See that I'm in my way from Jesus' car, with the memories leaves I like it stars, and I stitch the words in my heart with a needle and thread. Don't you cry for the lost, smile for the living. Give what you need, I give you what you give. You know life's for the living, so live it, or you better off dead. Don't you cry for the lost, smile for the living. Give what you need, I give you what you give. Life's for the living, so live it, or you better off dead.
Yay! Thank you, passenger. We're back. I can see where everyone will just become part of the AI virtual world by choice. Real life's okay, not what it used to be. Well, the thing is that I love about the AI universe, internet universe, is like-minded people find each other. And I think you mentioned a bit before, yeah, that everyone you used to meet in real life, we have more in common. And it's funny, exactly. Whereas if you go out now into a field of people where people are peopling, it's risky. You meet a lot of wankers, but at least on the internet, you're like, you might be in a chat or something and you start chatting to someone, you're like, oh, I like this person. And then you kind of hang out with them. I hear. This singer, he's a bit like James Blunt. All right, so what I'm going to do, because I'm going to show you how I make my salmon pie, but I'm going to posh it up a little bit because I had this fennel bulb I want to use. So I'm going to just basically fry off some fennel and some onion and garlic and then add that down the track to my salmon pie. I think it's going to add a whole heap of yummy flavors, but I'll also explain what I would have done had I just done the salmon pie. It's basically when I make the pie itself, the process I go through, but I'm just going to be adding some poshed up ingredients to it. And again, with the way money is in groceries and stuff, the more you can bulk up your food and make it go a bit further, the better, I reckon. So I'm just going to chop up a brown onion. I was the same. I was so social, Francesca. Like when I worked in radio, I met so many people. That's how I met Deb, actually. If Deb's still floating around, we've got some Duck River butter about to happen. And I used to meet great people. But I find these days, like down where I live, anyone I meet down here, I love instantly because we're all drawn to this place and all living down here and just loving the community. I mean, I do work in town a couple of days a week and I do catch up with friends for lunch occasionally, but generally I'm just in the office working my ass off. And if I pop out and get a coffee or whatever, I'll say hi to people. But I'm generally not meeting people when I go to town. And then a lot of friends visit from interstate and stuff like that, and I'm always keen to catch up with them. And I love my sister and my nieces and nephews, my brother, my sister-in-law, although they're in Singapore, but they do come home a lot. So, yeah, I think finding some like-minded folk on the net from around the world is awesome. And we're a nice community. Like, we're hanging out because we just want to keep each other company and have some laughs. We're not live just to bitch about every other fucker on the internet. It's sad. They don't realise what an amazing place this is to meet good people. So maybe stop honing in on the people you've met that you didn't like and spend more time chatting to the people you do like, and you'll have a better... He put on Nickelback. I would have run out the door at that very moment. Yeah, I've got beautiful friends I've met at music festivals that I've kept for years. Like, you know, wherever you go and you're with your tribe, even during Dark Mofo, that's sort of a tribal thing. So this is fennel, and it's delicious. And my sister and I picked up some random bits and pieces. I'm generally trying to just buy things I need, like recipes I've got in mind. But if I do get something, like if we find a random, you know, roadside stall and pick up fennel, for example, it's like, we'll chuck it into one of the things that you're cooking. But it adds a really nice flavour, and it'll make this go from probably being 6 or 8 serves to probably 10 for me. But so you get rid of the outer bit and you get rid of this bit. You can use this bit to make fennel tea and stuff like that. So I'll probably save that and look up and see if I can make some fennel tea with it. I would have vomited too. Nickelback. Was that to have sexy time too? Holy shit. And we're just going to slice this. Oops. Shit. We just thinly slice the fennel. And we're just going to heat up a little frying pan, and let's get the right element. I'm just going to check the Spuddly Dudleys. Oh, they've got a while to go yet. So, yeah, heating up this element just on a medium heat, and I'm going to put about a tablespoon of Duck River butter. Look at this. Oh, it's so much yellower in the flesh. I hate that the colours on StreamYard are not real. But about a tablespoon of butter and about a tablespoon of olive oil. Whenever you fry off things like onion and garlic and stuff, do the half and half because it's so much yummier. And this is all just going to get pan fried. And the other ingredient is a couple of cloves of garlic, but I'm actually going to retrieve half of the bulb of garlic out of the soup. And use a couple of these cloves, because the recipe's like discard them, and I'm like, no, we get to use them in some other way. So down the track, when we do take them out permanently, I'm actually going to separate them and keep them. I'll give them a really good clean and use them, like I'll keep them in a little jar in the fridge and use them to cook with for the next couple of dishes that I need garlic for. Don't chuck them out just because they've been sitting in a soup broth for half an hour. There's nothing wrong with them. I mean, another thing you could do is, to help dry them out, is just put them in a little dish and stick them in the oven while you're cooking the pie and let them dry out a little bit. But if I give them a good wash and just put them on a little plate, they'll dry overnight. Not a problem. Where's my compost bowl? It's over there. So, yeah, waste not, want not, right? Don't use fresh garlic. Use up the cloves because they're not going back into the soup. Pardon me. They're basically being used for flavouring the milk, the base of the soup, and then they get binned Just taking the core out of the fennel too, like get that little corey bit out, because that'll be super crunchy and not pleasant in a salmon pie. But I'm just slicing them, cutting the slices in half. Look at us go. Fennel, it's kind of got an almost like an aniseedy taste. It's a sort of, it's not really onion. It's like an onion in a way to look at, but it's more of an aniseed flavor, and it's really yummy with fish. Ah, perfect, yeah. Licorice and basil. That's another cool part of chatting. You chat with blokes of all walks of life. There's no judgment of looks or wealth status. Yeah, it's nice to get to know people based on who they are rather than what they look like or what they do. Hey, Emily. We used to call fennel stinkweed. It was everywhere at school and yuck. I love it though, and because we picked up the fennel on a little roadside stall last weekend from an organic farm, along with the apples that I'm going to be doing baked apples with later, I was like, just incorporate it into something. And I was thinking, well, I'm doing a fish pie, and like fennel and white fish is a really lovely flavor combo. And just to give my chopping board a bit of clean. But did you like what I did there, like reusing that garlic rather than just ditching it? And yeah, I'll the other thing you can do is just, while they're still a bit soggy from having been in a soup, you could just give them a really good wash and then just pop them in a jar with a little bit of water and just use them in the next couple of days. I'll be making pasta on Wednesday, so I'll keep the garlic from the soup till then. You love the taste. It's the texture you don't like. I'm like that with olives. Love the taste, the flavour, but ugh, the texture, gross. So I've just got a little frying pan over here. And we're just going to cook these off so they're nice and soft. And then when I'm making the salmon pie and we're assembling it all at the end, then I'm going to mix all of this through it. And yeah, it'll make your pie go a little bit further. And it'll add a few yummy flavours as well. But you don't have to do this part. This part's not usually in my salmon pie recipe. Just cranking the heat up a little bit. Yeah, organic garlic in a jar. Beautiful stuff. And if you just put some salt and water in a little jar with the cloves, they last a lot longer than if you have them sitting in a bowl out in your kitchen or whatever. But you can also buy cloves already essentially pickled in a jar for you. Pardon me, but I just feel that garlic has been used to flavour the milk for the soup, but to chuck it out, it's pointless. Even putting it into just separating all the cloves out, getting rid of all the skins and putting it in a little freezer bag and then taking it out the day you're going to cook with it, it'll be fine. Everything is so expensive. So, yes, I'm going to start becoming a lot more frugal and make things go a lot further and come up with ideas. And that garlic was one of them. I was like, I'm not throwing a whole bulb of garlic out. That stuff can get used. There's always something cooking in this kitchen. So I'll probably go live. We're doing batshit Wednesday night, but Wednesday's my day off, so I might even go live at lunchtime and make the pasta. So it's a roasted cherry tomato, truss tomato. I did actually splurge because I love them. They're just so pretty. Pancetta and ricotta, because there'll be some leftover ricotta, I think, from the apples. There may not be. I might have to buy more ricotta. Hello, beautiful medicine man. Peace be with you too, Groover. Fennel has many antioxidants and health properties, reduces inflammation, also anti-aging and good for mental health. Well, there you go. And I love it raw, and I love it cooked. And it will certainly bulk up this pie too to get more bang for your buck, because I am trying to cook things. I've thrown out so many recipes that are just not even realistic for me to cook for myself now, just the cost of them. But also I'm like, I don't want to go live on YouTube and show people how to make food that is, you know, $20 a serve. Hey, Ozzy. No, you're not late. I went live early, Groover. I was going to go live at 4, but I got a bit excited and I was ready to go, so I kicked off at 3:30. But yeah, just cook these down with the butter and oil. It smells fucking amazing in here now. I haven't really got a whiff of the onions that are roasting, but that might be because they're tucked in under an alfoil lid. And that's another thing, like the lid that's over the top of that roasting dish, I wouldn't chuck that out. There was a time I'd use alfoil once, but I will actually clean it and save it, because I'm doing a lot of things at the moment that need foil lids. Like when you're making soups and you're roasting, it's not uncommon to have put foil over the top of the roasting dish. So yeah, that'll get saved and reused. You've got to start thinking about making things go a lot further, and that's what I'll be doing. I'm also going to be on a much smaller salary fairly soon, so that will affect me as well. But it's good. I think we're all going to be doing depression cooking together. It'll be fun. Despite the title. Well, Aussie Turtle Dove has shared a very funny dating story with us. Just so you know, I've got some onions. I've got a kilo of onions roasting in the oven at the moment because we're making a caramelized onion soup. I've got potatoes over here cooking away because I'm going to do a mashed potato topping for a salmon pie that we're going to make shortly. And here I've got fennel, onion, and garlic just getting all scrumptious and softening up a bit because I'm going to add them to the salmon pie, which I wouldn't normally put in my salmon pie, but my sister and I had fun last weekend and stopped at all these little roadside stalls and farms and bought a heap of organic things, including a fennel bulb. And I was like, well, I've made white fish pies before with fennel, so let's do it. Add it to the salmon. Recession cooking, exactly. It could be fun, though. It's like being in the depression cooking ages while the internet's a 5. So exactly. We've got the internet, which is amazing. Despite our impending poverty, we're all able to log in and say hi to each other. It's pretty cool. It would have been a very lonely world pre-internet, and being in a recession, you couldn't even afford a stamp to send someone a letter. It sounds delicious. Makes me jealous of your taste buds. And we're also going to be doing some honey nut baked apples as well. I've got these 4 beautiful organic apples, and we're going to bake them. I'll have one tonight for dessert. I don't normally do dessert, with a little bit of cream. And then the other 3, I'm actually going to freeze them. I'll probably halve them and freeze them with a bit of the ricotta and the honey and the nuts. And then whenever I make porridge, that's going to be the topping for the porridge with some yogurt. Yum. So yeah, there's a bit going on. I'm not browning these or anything like that. I'm really just cooking them so that they soften nicely. They, you know, probably need about 20 minutes. If you really wanted to add some extra flavour too, in fact, I might do that, is chuck in some white wine, which I wouldn't normally do in my salmon pie either, but I'm just thinking a bit of, my sister drinks white wine and there's usually a bottle that's open in my fridge. Let me see. Yep. Oh, I think I used this last time I cooked. This is the Margaret River Semillon Sauv Blanc. So I'm actually going to chuck in a bit of white wine as well, which will just give a bit more flavour. Waste not, want not, Groovers. This is depression cooking or recession cooking. Spuds are still cooking away. So I might start making the pie, but I'm just looking at the camera and what's in the shot. I might swap out these two. Let's get the salmon pie. So this is starting from scratch. This is how I make a salmon pie. And first thing we've got to do is make our roux. There's good people on the planet, Turtle Dove. Don't lose hope. We're all gradually finding each other around the interwebs. Canadians are fabulous. No diss to America, but the funniest are the Australians. They give me liberty. Yay! We are kind of funny, but we're criminals. You know, we've come from convict stock, so I think that's why Aussies are pretty funny. So to make the roux, the base of like a tuna mornay, anything requiring a white sauce. I thought, where's my wooden spoon? And I forgot that I used it to stop my soup from boiling over. Yeah, a bit of grog to spice things up. You love this dish? This one for Deb? My new Le Creuset. It's beautiful, isn't it? I love my other one too, but I've got to say this one's a bit smaller. And the glass lid, it's not as heavy as the other one. But also I think this will be easier to get the topping to spread around the top of it. The other one being a little bit bigger. But I love my blue ones that I got for my 50th. So you melt some butter, and then we want to add some plain flour. Probably start with a couple of tablespoons. And mix that together so it's like a bit of a paste. I might have put too much flour, we'll see. And I've just got to grab some milk. There's a lot of milk and butter happening in today's cooking. I couldn't be happier. My favourite ingredients. But yeah, with your roux, the flour butter base, you want to get them kind of happily blended. So they're like a bit of a paste. It's probably the best word to describe what we're doing. And it's good to give it a minute or two just to cook as well. It doesn't, you don't want to leave it in the pot for too long, but it doesn't hurt to give it a bit of time to just sort of blend into a yummy, nutty flavoured sort of paste. And then what we're going to start to do, this is live action here, so I'm not reading chat at the moment, but then you start to add your milk. And yes, the pan is hot, but you start stirring. And we're going to have the makings of a beautiful white sauce very soon. But if I was making my salmon pie that I have made for years based on my grandmother and my mother's salmon pie, this is where we would start. We wouldn't have this fancy shit happening over in the background. Actually, I've got to turn that element on too to get that stuff cooking. I'm so glad you stumbled into us. And charming treasure, wow. You're making my day, Turtle Dove. Such lovely compliments I get from you and everyone in this community. You're all good folk. But like attracts like. I'd rather have 10 of us hanging out on a Sunday than 600 people watching me because they think I'm an asshole. And you just keep adding milk and mixing it all together. You don't want to add too much milk or you'll end up with a really lumpy white sauce. But you just keep mixing it together. And depending on the amount of flour and butter that you've got will depend on the quantity of the sauce that you make. So you can make really small roux for a really small amount, like a single serve of white sauce. But I always, if I'm ever making, this is the same white sauce that you'd make for a lasagna too. I'm still laughing at Turtle Dove's date. Why bother? I can't be fucked. I mean, I've got a lover and he's not regular. He's not here a lot of the time, but I'm quite happy with that. I couldn't be bothered finding someone I could see on a more regular basis. No. I like the FIFO lover. Flies in, g'day, hang out for a while. See ya. When are you back? Not sure, I'll let you know. Awesome, see you then. Brilliant. Best relationship I've ever had. This trim is a golden needle in a mouldy haystack. I feel the same way. I think our little community is really lovely. And it makes me happy that there's this tiny little corner of YouTube that people stumble into and go, holy shit, this is a nice place. These people are fun and they give a fuck about each other. How refreshing. Always use a wooden spoon in your enamels or plastic. Don't use metal on metal. In fact, I don't use metal on metal in any of my pots and pans. I've told you guys before, Sandra Ruchek, I used to watch her cooking and she mixes everything with forks and metal spoons in her metal dishes. And I'm like, no, stop it. But she's an amazing cook and, Italian stock. I mean, I really shouldn't be commenting on her cooking style, but the metal on metal bugs me. Can't be fucked. I doubt that. Ha ha. Good one, Aussie. I see what you did there. Just giving the onion, garlic, and fennel a little stir. You just want the fennel. Fennel takes a little bit longer to soften than onion does, so you just want to make sure. Not that it would bother me to have a bit of crunch in my salmon pie, but some people would like it to be crunch-free. But again, I really don't care. I don't mind a bit of crunch appearing in a dish. It's like, oh, this is a legitimate fresh vegetable, not something out of a tin or freezer. So the sauce is getting there. And yeah, by adding the milk gradually, that stops it from being lumpy. See how there's not a lump to be seen? Well, there's a few, but they're getting mixed in, but it's not a lumpy sauce. Thank God. I've made some shocking roux in my life and I've had to start over. If you fuck it up, there's no way of salvaging it. You've got to start over. And it's a bit high maintenance. You do need to hang around the pot. You can't kind of go down the front room for a shag or anything while you're doing this. You've got to be paying full attention. And bearing in mind we are going to be adding a few bits and pieces to it. In terms of thickness, I'm kind of happy with where that is because I'm just going to take that off the heat. I actually add the entire tin of salmon or tuna or whatever. I don't drain it. I add the whole thing because it adds so much more flavour. Unless I open the can and there's like an inch of liquid sitting on top or an inch and a half, I will get rid of a little bit, but generally speaking. So I stop making the white sauce when it's still quite thick because I'm going to be adding more liquid to it. All right, the fennel and stuff for me is as good as it gets and it's starting to brown, which is nothing wrong with that, but I'm just going to chuck in some white wine for flavour. And mix that all through. And I'm just going to put that on a low heat just so it reduces a little bit because I don't want to add that much more liquid. And then we want to get our salmon or our tuna, depends what you're making. I'm using a big tin. I don't normally get a big tin. I normally get two small ones, but I've discovered this is heaps cheaper. A 415 gram can of pink salmon. The cost of salmon and tuna and everything is cray, but this was actually a bargain and it was on sale as well. And I'm like, fuck it, let's do that. Now, you could use half of it for the pie and then half for something else, but I'm going to use the whole lot. I'm making a big pie. I've just taken a tiny bit of the liquid off the top, but the whole lot goes in, including the remaining liquid in the can. The skin, the bones, all of it. Don't do what a former housemate of mine did one day, to my horror, and she sat there picking all the bones out of the salmon. They dissolve when you're cooking. Pop that back on the heat. And just break it up with your spoon. But yeah, all the bones dissolve. Although I haven't seen a bone in this tin yet. There were literally 2 massive fillets of salmon in that can. Love it. I prefer that to the mashed up smaller cans. Not going to lie, I didn't know that. I don't know the last time I bought a huge can of salmon. But you just start mixing that all through, breaking it all down. It looks like a bit of a dog's breakfast at the moment, but it is going to come together and it's going to be amazeballs. I wasn't a terrible date. I just realised what used to be an energizer is now doing nothing for fair enough. He sounded boring as batshit, though. What did you call it? It wasn't... You didn't say it was bad, but you said it was average or something. You like a bit of crunch too, Ozzy? Yeah, crunch is good. But like I told you, I took this off when the sauce was still quite thick, because adding the salmon with a little bit of the water from the tin, and I'm also going to be adding the white wine over there, it'll get to the consistency that I like. But before we add all that other yummy stuff, still got a bit of salmon to break down. Again, I don't mind if I get a particularly large piece of salmon, but you don't want a whole salmon fillet, you know. And then, like I said, for my version of this salmon pie, I've used this forever. Francesca wanted to see in my spice basket the other day, I think. Someone did. I used to use this at uni. It has to be Master Foods. This lemon pepper has made average meals incredible over the years, and I still cook with it. And that's the only herby thing I'm going to put into this, even though I've got beautiful herbs in the garden and everything else. So some nice bit of lemon pepper, a bit more, and also some fresh lemon juice. But if you haven't got fresh lemon juice, the little bottled versions are fine. Just use your hands. Half a lemon. In she goes. It's going to be very lemony, bit winey, not whining about life in general, but whining as in it's Sunny's dinner and she's in the kitchen. It's her dinner time. So once I've got this pie happening, I'll just check the spuds. I reckon they might be pretty close as well. Yep, they are. I'm just going to strain them to make the mashed potato. It's getting hot in here. Hey, Google, stop. Oh, my God, it's all happening. All right, because we're going to have to make the mashed potato pretty quickly. So lemon, there's still a bit more lemon juice. The other half, just keep that for when you're serving it. Also, another tip, guys, don't chuck these out because, trust me, if you do the dishes with this half a lemon, it's as good as, if not better than, detergent. So don't chuck out your half lemons like this. Use them and do the dishes with them. You'll be amazed. Another depression cooking tip, guys. I'm going to feed Sunny and then I'll get on with doing the mashed potato. And I'm just going to taste this and see if it needs any salt. It won't be long, Moog. It probably won't because salmon, it does need a little bit of salt. And then we're going to chuck this amazing fennel, onion, and garlic mix in as well. That was our fancy pants edition. I'll just mix this together and then I'm going to feed Sunny and then we'll get on with making the mashed potato. Would you like some dinner, Sunny? In fact, I'll do the mashed potato first because she's disappeared. So just mix that through. Oh, my God, guys, that smells amazing, and the flavour. And we're not quite done with that. We've got more things to add to that too. But let me just do the mashed potato because you want to do that while the spuds are still hot. And what do we need? More lashings of Duck River butter. Don't skimp on butter with mashed potato, ever. And more milk. Now, you could, to be a bit kooky, you could actually put the lemon pepper into the mashed potato on the topping. I've put it into the pie, but you could put it in the potato if you prefer. Francesca loves lemon. The fancy spice drawers, yeah, me too. Mind you, I've been into Howard's Storage World, which is a great shop we have here that comes up with amazing storage solutions. And I found I'm actually going to put a drawer in under here with brackets under this bench where I'm cooking at the moment. And it's just going to be a pull out, go back in, but it's going to be like a basket drawer. And I'm also getting some storage put in my hallway because I don't have a lot of storage here deliberately because I didn't want to start hoarding shit. I don't have a shed or anything for the same reason. But there's a bit of wasted space in the hall cupboard. So I'm getting shelving and things put in down the bottom because there's this huge area. And I've got a lot of kitchen appliances, and out here I don't have 50,000 plates and bowls and things. Like I have the basics that I need, but if I have a dinner party, I've got like baskets of extra plates and stuff, and I just want somewhere to store all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, but I love my basket. Yay, Duck River. Yeah, lemon pepper's fabulous. Back in the day, I wanted to get one of those old library catalogues, like the card catalogues. I wanted to get one of the wooden ones with all the little drawers, and I wanted to keep all my spices in those drawers, but I don't have the space here in this house, and also I don't have the money for them. They're so expensive. But that was my original. And I've thought about doing something up and down the walls, but seriously, you saw the basket. I've got a shitload of spices. One last bit of elbow grease. And that's my beautiful, yummy, smooth, creamy mashed potato. I don't use a ricer. Just a bit of elbow grease and you'll get the smoothest, creamiest, lushest. And it does probably need a tiny bit more butter, but because it's going to go on top of the pie and we're going to bake it, I'm going to put some dobs of butter on top of the potato. So that's that done. I don't know where Sunny's gone, so I'm just going to keep cooking. So the salmon pie, it's pretty, but to you guys it probably looks a bit boring. I am going to put a few fresh thyme out of my garden, thyme leaves in. For a bit of greenery. But I will always serve something like this with fresh green veggies of some description. I've got Brussels sprouts, I've got fresh green beans, and I've also, I think I will be picking up some spinach. I've also got frozen peas as an emergency. Oh my God, this thyme smells so beautiful. This fresh grown herbs are the best, man. So they go in. Just a couple of, maybe a teaspoon's worth. There's already so many other crazy flavors in here with the fennel and the wine and everything. There's you'd have to put so many herbs. Oh my God, that's so yummy. Yum. And why am I doing that? I've got to add one more ingredient. I did prepare something earlier, Groovers. I hard-boiled 3 eggs. And the way I hard-boil eggs is eggs in the water with, you can either do a little bit of white vinegar or you can do half a teaspoon of salt when it comes to the boil. So you put the eggs in and it's meant to stop them going dark, but this fucker's gone dark. But that's okay. And then using my beautiful grandmother's egg slicer. Has anyone got one of these? You slice up your egg and just drop the slices into the pie. And I've done 3 eggs. You've got a basket. I love my basket. I love rummaging in there. And when I'm cooking, I do, even though I don't usually read the recipe before I start cooking, I do read the ingredient list. And I usually just pull out the ones that I need. And I'm a bit bummed these eggs got a bit dark, that dark ring around them, but I don't care. It's in a pie. Who gives a shit? But again, these eggs bulk it up even more. They give it more flavour. And it's just something that my grandma did. And I've been busting to use my egg slicer. Watch it in action. Hey! So, yeah, add 3... add as many eggs as you want, really. But this is such a beautiful, hearty thing. And I mix them through. I don't care if they're still perfectly sliced or not. But just give it a mix so they're kind of evenly dispersed. I'm just going to taste that. Oh my God, that's so good. I'm glad I added the thyme, actually. It's very lemony. I'm going to just take the onions out because that went off before. Ooh. I think I just curled my eyelashes. That wasn't intentional. I'm going to whack the oven down to 180 degrees. Just leave the door open a little bit. This is a way to cool down the oven, but also warm up the kitchen a bit. And then I'm just going to grab my mashed potato that I just threw together. And just whack it on top of your pie. And don't be too precious. If, like I said, I'm not anticipating this amount of mashed potatoes going to cover the whole pie. So a trick I learned somewhere along the way was just start in the middle and work your way out. And if the edges are exposed, it doesn't matter. It's not like a pie where you need pastry to cover the whole thing. If you're arty, you could have it just doing like half of the pie. It's not that. You don't have to be precious about the whole thing being covered. I mean, we'll spread it out as best as we can, but oh my God, if you guys could smell my kitchen right now, this pie smells so good. And I'm actually going to get a spatula to get the last bit of spud out of the pot. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. Sonny, would you like some dinner? We'll be having another little break in a minute, Groovers, because I'm going to feed Sonny. And then we're going to finish the soup off and then make the baked apples. And I'll do a taste test for everything. And oh, Tony Martini's cooking for Dr. Spiegel. Oh, yes. I'm seducing him with my cooking. You're on to me. But, yeah, spread your mashed potato out as far as it goes that you're happy. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, with these, it's not like a pastry where it's really important that it covers it properly, fully. And if you want to be a bit fancy, you can do little lines with a fork. Make little sort of valleys for the butter to melt in. We have been cooking with so much butter today. And just put some little blobs of butter dotted around the pie because that will help the potato go crunchy. It's not going to go super crunchy, but you'll get a bit of crunch. And if it doesn't, we can always chuck it under the grill. But, yep, cooking with fingers, best kitchen utensil around. And then this little fucker is going to go into the oven at 180 degrees for about 15 to 20 minutes. You sort of want the top to get brown. You're only here for the Amica cream. We're cooking with Amica cream shortly. So, yeah, there's our little pie. If you wanted to put some herbs or whatever on top, you can, but they tend to burn if they're just sitting naked on top of something. I'm all about putting them on at the end as a garnish. So I'm going to whack those groovers in the oven. Hey, Google, set a timer for 15 minutes.
Sure, 15 minutes. And we're starting now.
Thank you. Would you like some dinner, Sonny? We're going to have another musical intermission, groovers. I'm going to take the foil. Oh, they look amazing. In fact, I'm not going to reuse this. This is pretty bad. When we're truly in recession cooking, I might, but I just realised, that they've been touching onions. So I'll just give you a close-up. I've taken the roof off just so they can cool down a bit, but they're beautifully roasted. They smell incredible. And once they've cooled down a bit, we'll be able to pull away the skins and pop them in the soup. But yum. They look so good, guys. But I need to feed my little girl and just tidy things up a tiny bit here. So I'm going to chuck on another song. Does anyone have a request? Actually, I try to play Aussie bands. Passenger, who I had on earlier, is English, but I do try to play Aussie people, and I don't think I've played this band or this singer. But this is an Aussie guy who used to front a band called the Whitlams. Gough Whitlam was a former Australian Prime Minister, and he's actually doing a cover of a song on his own called You Weren't in Love with Me, and it's pretty cute. But yeah, I might as well keep exposing you groovers to some Tassie music. So I'm going to feed my... Oh, good luck, Tony. God, I couldn't... What? Yeah, I'd skip it too, mate. But enjoy this song. Another bit of... We're not playing Nickelback ever on my channel, Deb. Not even for $1 million. Well, for $1 million, yes. But other than that, forget it. But yeah, I'm going to feed my little Bambino. Enjoy Tim doing a cover. Now, the guy that used to sing this, the original, was another Aussie, Billy somebody. I can't remember his name. But this is Tim's version of it. Enjoy.
Standing on the outside, I don't know.
Oh, shit. I didn't know it was an interview. Hang on. Here we go. Tim Friedman. For that musical interlude. Oops. Oh, he's doing a cover of it too. Just so you know, Sunny has disappeared when it's dinner time, so hopefully she'll be back in a minute. But I might as well get on with assembling the soups. These are still quite hot, but these are the onions that we put in the oven. They were mixed with a little bit of olive oil. What else did we put? 2 tablespoons of olive oil, sea salt, cracked black pepper, some white balsamic vinegar. Oh, shit, I forgot the sugar. Interesting. They were meant to also have 2... I completely forgot to put 2 tablespoons of caster sugar as well. But that's okay. I don't think it'll matter. Maybe it'll be bitter as hell and I'll be like, it totally needed the sugar. So we've got our little soup that we made earlier, the base, which has got a litre of milk, a bulb of garlic that we literally just sliced in half and chucked that in, some bay leaves, and that was it from memory. I don't think we even put salt and pepper into that because the salt and pepper's on all of this stuff. But the first thing you've got to do is take out, if Deb is listening, take out the garlic and the bay leaves. But that's the garlic that I was saying. I wouldn't chuck that. Like, I'm going to wash them, remove all the bulbs, put them in a little jar of water in the fridge, and I'll cook with them during the week. Remember how many bay leaves you put in and remove both of them. Oh, have a nice shower, Turtle Dove. You're the second person to take a shower while I've been cooking. I think there's a message in that for everyone. Just going to put the milk back in the fridge because we don't need any more milk. All right, so it's already dark here in Tasmania. It's 5:20. It's Sunny's dinner time, but she's vamooshed. Now, this is when you do want to remove the skins. The outer skinny bits. I'm actually leaving, like, there's little bits on the end. You want to pull them off, that little butthole of the onion. But, you know, a few little bits of caramelised onion, I'm not fussed about that. That can stay. They're not actually too hot now, but essentially we're just getting, oh, they are hot. Okay. Yep, she's hot. But essentially we're just removing the onion flesh from the skin. And like I said, I'm even happy to include those little pieces that are a bit caramelised because it's all going to get blended, and I think that's just going to add to the flavour. And it'll give it a bit of colour too. I'm not really a fan of a completely white soup. That's a bit creepy. Good tip. Yeah, I reckon. I'm starting to think like the frugal person we're going to all have to become. These onions are still pretty hot. This is the perfect time to feed Sunny, and she's nowhere to be seen. She went off to the loo before, and now she's got the zoomies. It might be easier just to do it this way. Oh, yum, look at that yummy caramelised bit. Oh, yeah. But, yeah, remove the arse. And the skin. But all the flesh, all the yummy caramelised fleshy bits are going straight into the pot. Holy shit, that's a hot piece. Oh, here you are. Now she's in the kitchen going, can I have my dinner? I'm like, well, where were you 5 minutes ago? Oh, that's right, the loo. You just have to wait. I don't know what's on the menu for Sunny for dinner, but it's not going to be as good as my dinner. I mean, for her, she'll think it's amazing, but I wouldn't like her dinner. I used to watch years ago, like on commercial TV, shows like A Current Affair, and they'd have people who are really struggling financially, and the headline would be, so broke they're now eating pet food. Pet food's more expensive than a tin of tuna or a can of baked beans. So please don't eat pet food because it's expensive. Get a can of tuna. I remember seeing that as a kid and thinking, why are they paying more food for like pet food when they could get 4 cans of baked beans for 1 can of dog food? Like, it didn't make sense to me. Hey, Joey, how are you, Groover? Yeah, arriving at Butt Talk. Perfect. The onions are amazing. They're beautifully caramelized. There's going to be all this incredible flavor. But, yeah, I forgot to put caster sugar on them when I roasted them, which I just didn't even think of it and missed it in the recipe. So if it's not, if it's too bitter when we've blended it all up, I'll probably chuck a couple of tablespoons of caster sugar in just to add a bit of sweetness. But it'd be interesting to see what it's like without the sugar, because I don't do sugar. I don't do sugar in my teas or coffees or anything like that. I literally have a jar of sugar here for cooking and my sister when she visits, or anyone else who has sugar. So there we go. Very easy. Just remove the onion flesh from the skins. Sunny, I'll give you your dinner. You hungry? Let's see what's on the menu for you, young lady. Welcome to the Shxtty Kitty restaurant. This evening, Sunny is going to be enjoying, this is actually one of her favourites. She's going to be having beef and tomato in jelly. Cooking up a storm. Pet food is expensive, so why would people, when they're struggling, spend a lot of money on pet food when baked beans are heaps cheaper, and tins of tuna? Even your 2-minute noodles, you know, you can get a packet of like 10 packets of noodles for a couple of bucks. Here you go, young lady. It's your beef in tomato sauce. Delicious. Enjoy. I mean, that little pouch is about $1.50. And you can get baked beans for 60 cents a can. So, I don't know. So here's the roasted onion in the milk that we prepared earlier. And I'll just see if I have to add anything else. Peel off the onion skins and discard. Place the onion in a blender. No, I'm not doing the blender. I'm doing the stick mixer. So we're going to blend this together till it's smooth. There might be a little bit of noise pollution. Apologies in advance. But yeah, this recipe, like the one I made the other day with the sweet potato, it was like take out half of the soup base and put all of the sweet potato in a blender. And I ended up having to do like 4 loads of blending and then wash my friggin' blender. And I was like, just use your stick mixer, seriously. But I'm just going to clean my stovetop too, so that things are aesthetically pleasing. And then after this, the salmon pie will probably be ready to pull out of the oven and show you what it looks like. And then we're going to get on with baking the apples. And I'm going to have a lot of food prepared for the week. I'm going to have a massive kitchen clean-up, but I'm going to have a gorgeous dinner in about an hour and a half. And you've kept me company the whole time. I mean, life's pretty good. Okay, so the little stick blender. They probably say to use a blender because of the skins, but I'm just going to see. Oh, hey, Google, stop. I'm just going to see how it goes. And I'm going to leave that pie for another 5 or 10 minutes just because I want to get it a little bit browned on top. But if it doesn't, what I normally do is stick it under the grill for 5 minutes. It's funny, Aussie, she doesn't actually like seafood. She's totally like red meat. Her favourites, her 3 favourites, beef, duck, and lamb. I got her a little fresh piece of salmon or something for her birthday. I didn't give a shit about it. She does like tin tuna. Like if I've ever run out of cat food for her or any other cats I've owned, I've always resorted to the little tin of tuna. And sometimes she comes running to the kitchen if I open a can, but she didn't with the salmon. Hey, Blue. Yeah, just a bit of noise pollution. But we're blending up onions and I've just cranked it up to high. So mute me if it's annoying, everybody. Sunny's not enjoying her dinner with this background. I'm sorry, Moogie. We've got a lot going on tonight in the kitchen. I can see why they suggested a blender because it would blitz the fuck out of the onions a bit quicker, but it's coming along nicely. You can't hear me after I whiz? Really? Has my mic stopped working? I mean, I do understand the blender suggestion now. It would pulse them up a lot easier, but we're getting there, and I don't mind a little bit of chunk in my soup. Blue. I'm pretty happy with that. It's there's no obvious gigantic, I'll just double check, but there's no obvious chunks of onion left. And I don't mind a few little bits. Yeah, there's a little bit of chunk to it, but nothing, it's not like completely liquefied. It's smooth. And yeah, it's got a little bit of little tiny bits of onion. It's delicious. It's still, pardon me, it still needs a few things before it's good to go. So let's add those things so it's good to go. Get this out of the way. It wasn't just you, the mic. Oh, the mic might have been adjusting. Yeah, technology is fancy like that. Okay, so just when you thought it couldn't get any lusher, we're going to add some cream. There's been a lot of creamy, buttery things happening in the kitchen today. Yeah, baby. You want to add about half a cup of cream. I've just bought thickened cream from Coles. It's the cheapest cream they've got. Pour in cream. Who cares? Woolworths are going to come knocking for your soup soon. Really? Why? So roughly half a cup. I just guesstimate. And we're also going to add some salt and pepper. It does need some seasoning, but I don't think it needs the sugar for my tastes. I'd probably try it next time because, the whole point of the sugar was for caramelizing, but it was pretty caramelized without any sugar. Lots of cracked pepper. Lots of salt. And then essentially with this, you then just whack it back onto the stovetop and heat it up. And the only reason I'm doing that now is because I'm going to do a taste test. But if you're going to be serving it fresh, you pretty much put it on a really low heat. You just want that salt and pepper and everything just for all the flavours to combine and heat it through. And then I'm going to do a taste test. But that's actually a pretty good quantity of soup. And like I said, it's a fairly cheap thing to make because the bag of onions was $4 for a kilo of onions. And I probably could have got them even cheaper if I'd gone into like a country market or something. But I was already at the supermarket, and onions are onions. They're Australian grown. That's what I care about. But I probably wouldn't have paid much less than $4 for them. In fact, I might have even paid more at the country market. Haven't you seen their whole soup range? I don't do Woolies, but no, so I haven't. My soups would look good in there too. I did make heaps, you're right. Enough to put in Woolies. But this is like going to be a beautiful lunch for me for the next couple of days. I love taking soup to work for lunch or for dinner. But because I've made a salmon pie, I won't be taking that to work because it upsets people when you reheat a fish dish at work in the microwave or the little toaster oven thing. And because I'm a considerate co-worker, I'm not going to take the salmon pie to work. That's going to be my dinners. So the caramelised onion soup is going to be my lunches. And there's a really lovely bakery like 4 doors down from where we work. And I'll go down there and get a little fresh bun and a coffee each day as well. All right, so that's that. Now the salmon pie is cooked. And really the salmon pie is just heating up because the mashed potato and salmon and everything was already pretty much cooked before it went in the oven to bake. It's probably not properly browned on top yet, so I'm going to take my grill out. Very considerate. Thank you, Blue. But yeah, in the off chance this needs to be browned. Oh. It hasn't done too badly. And I've turned the oven off. Even though we're going to do the baked apples, I'll whack it back on again in a minute, but it'll stay pretty hot for a while. But there's the salmon pie out of the oven. And yeah, it started to go brown a little bit on top. But what you can do, if you've got a grill, or I think in America you call it a broiler, just chuck it under that for 5 minutes. If you want a bit more brownish. Oh my God, that pie smells so good. I poshed up a salmon pie that I make, Joey, that's got hard-boiled eggs. Like it's literally a white sauce, hard-boiled eggs, salmon, lemon pepper, some thyme out of the garden, and then a mashed potato topping. I actually pan-fried some onion, garlic, fennel, and then added a splash of white wine. And then yeah, they call it a broiler. Imagine, yeah, exactly. Everyone's faces. I mean, the salmon pie, you probably could eat that cold as long as it's at room temperature. It'd be okay, but I'd rather have it for dinner when I get home, like chuck it in the oven, cook some fresh green something, probably beans, and then have it at home without being scorned by my co-workers. But anyway, I've just whacked that under the grill for, it'll be under there for about 5 minutes just so it browns a bit. And the soup, I've just got it on a low heat because it is a milk-based soup. But I'm going to do a little taste test for you guys. I might do that now while we're just crisping up the top of that other pie. And this is how you garnish it. Just going to do a little serve in a wee bowl. So I'm not going to bother. But if you were about to have that for dinner, you would just heat that up. And while you're heating it up, you'd get your breads happening. I actually bought a really yummy loaf, so I won't be buying a bun at the baker. I bought a loaf, a yummy little mini crunchy one. But to garnish this fucker, just grab some store-made caramelized onion. I love anything Beerenberg. You can make your own, but after making an onion soup and caramelizing roasted onions and all the rest of it, just buy the ready-made stuff. Seriously, this lasts such a long time in your fridge and it's delicious. And I think I paid $5 for this, but I'll get a lot of use. Like, this is yummy even on, you know, crackers with cheese. Have a little bowl of caramelized onion. Like, there's a lot of ways to use it. And you just get a little blob of it. Just mixing it up a bit because it's fresh. And get a little blob of your caramelized onions, store-bought. And there's lots of different brands. I think even Coles does maybe their own brand. Like, there would be cheaper options to Beerenberg. But I saw Beerenberg and I'm like, dropping things all over the place. Yeah, I saw the Beerenberg label and there was no conversation to be had. And then just get some, like I've used before, my beautiful homegrown thyme. If I was doing a posy shot for a recipe book, I'd put a whole sprig, but I'm actually just going to remove some fresh leaves and pop them on top. And lastly, I think I've used up every teaspoon in the house just about today. This is more just wanky garnishing because it makes things look pretty. We'll bathe that there dirty baby. Thanks for coming in and saying good day, Blue. And there it is. There's your caramelized onion, bay leaf, and milk soup garnished with caramelized onion, fresh thyme from my garden, and some cracked pepper. And I'll just do a little taste test. This is so yummy. I mean, that blob of caramelized onions, like, just like a beautiful jam. I'm not fussed that I didn't put the sugar to caramelize the onions in the oven. It's a 10 out of 10. It was really yummy. It's affordable. There's a huge quantity there. Like, I know that I'll be able to freeze probably 4 serves of that and also eat it for the next few days. So it's pretty awesome, the amount. And it's quite an affordable dish because, yeah, a bag of onions isn't that expensive. Milk, not expensive at the moment. Bay leaves, if you know someone who's got a bay tree, grab a heap of bay leaves from them. But, yeah, I didn't need to show you the half-eaten bowl. This is a 10 out of 10, and I love that there's little bits of onion in there. Like, it's not chunky at all, but there's just little pops of onion. I recommend that one. It's going into my recipe keeper for sure. I'm just going to finish the bowl. I'm hungry. But considering you can buy, 5 kilo bags of onions and 10 kilo bags and stuff like that, like, that's really delicious. And it's pretty posh too, like the flavors, even though it's a really simple soup. If anyone's still doing dinner parties, that's a really good soup to start a dinner party, because it's got the that lovely bay leaf and oniony flavor, and then that sweet caramelized onion jam on top, and then the little pops of fresh thyme. It's really delicious. Yum. So yeah, I recommend it. It was pretty easy. If I wasn't cooking other stuff as well, if that's all I'd made, you guys would have been like, that was really quick and really, well, it wasn't quick because it takes an hour to roast the onions, but I probably would have, had I been thinking things through, I probably would have roasted them out on the barbecue. They probably would have only taken half an hour. I use a bit of gas rather than using electricity all the time. But yeah, delicious. I thoroughly recommend the soup. That was good. Let's get the salmon pie out of the broiler. Hopefully it hasn't actually browned up much at all, but it's looking pretty yummy. It's browner in the flesh than it is on the screen, but that's looking really nice. And even though that's a recipe I make a lot, because I posh it up with some fennel and white wine and garlic and onion, I will do a little taste test. Yeah, the house smells incredible. Can I be fucked doing the roast apples though? I'm not sure. Let me see how long they take, because if it's quick, I'll do them. But if they need to be in the oven for like an hour, they need to bake for half an hour. I think I'm going to make these on Wednesday. I don't need dessert tonight. That pie is going to be awesome. And I've got the day off on Wednesday, so I'm going to can the baked apples till Wednesday, Groovers, because I'm pretty excited at the idea that I've come up with them to slice them in half, and they've got a ricotta cheese, nuts, 2 different nuts. I've got walnuts and cashews and honey, and then put them in little baggies and freeze them. So when I'm doing like a porridge or something, to have them just to go bang on top, and maybe add a bit of yogurt, although I reckon the ricotta will be awesome. Or, to have on top of cereal, or even just to have as a dessert. So I'll try the pie. And then I'm going to get on with cleaning up the kitchen and have a nice cruisy Sunday night, because the baked apples will take hardly any time at all to prepare, but then they're going to need to bake. And I'll do them on Wednesday when I do the pasta. So it'll be 2 ricotta dishes. It'll be, I think, let me see how much ricotta I need. 4 tablespoons. Yeah, I should still maybe have some ricotta left over for the pasta. But I'm happy to do recipes that use the same ingredients so that people can get ideas on 2 dishes they can do to use it up. And ricotta is really yummy. It also lasts a long time though. So, but I think I'll do that for Wednesday, the baked apples. But let me just try the pie. Which is actually going to be my dinner tonight with some veggies. But I'm going to clean the kitchen up first. But for a little taste test, yum. And because I've got some left over from my little garden, I'm going to add some more thyme. So the recipe for the soup is in the description. And the salmon pie, yeah, the pie part that I've been making my whole life is just in my head. I don't even do quantities with that. I just make it. But I'm sure you guys can have a crack at that. And the baked apples, I'll have time to put the recipe in the description before I make them because it's not a really tricky one. And we're going to do a pancetta roasted cherry tomato and ricotta pasta spaghetti on Wednesday. Does anyone still have their little ducky fork from when they were a child? I have very few things from my childhood, but I still have my fork. I don't have my spoon or my knife, and I know I had one of each. But let's see how my new salmon pie with the posh addition of the fennel and the white wine, let's see how that rates. The garlic's maybe a bit of an odd thing to add, but we'll see. Oh, Deb does. Oh, yeah, yum. Oh, yeah. Holy fuck, guys, this is a bowl of amazing flavour. I love my salmon pie just with the salmon and the egg and the white sauce and the mashed potato topping. But that fennel, thyme, white wine, onion, garlic addition, it's just taken it next level. And it's posh as fuck, but delicious and very easy. And look at the size of this. I'm going to get a lot of meals out of this too. And this freezes beautifully. And there's nothing better than rummaging around in the freezer in the morning going, what we'll have for dinner? And you see one of these, you're like, yeah. I could have cooked these in individual ramekins. I just don't have the space in the freezer. But this freezes really well. There's nothing better than discovering in your freezer because it's such a yummy dish. It reminds me of my mum. It reminds me of my grandma's. It reminds me of winter. And I'm going to enjoy it for dinner tonight with a heap of green beans, fresh green beans. I can't wait. So what I thought was already a 10 out of 10 pie, I'm being sensible with my scores now, so this is a 10 as well. But that little extra bit of fennel and white wine, it's made it feel very grown up. The other one was the one I grew up on as a kid. This feels like the adults only version. So have a crack. If you do try any of my recipes, put comments under my videos because I'd love to get your feedback. It's so exciting when someone says they tried something and they loved it. Really easy stuff. I've got beautiful food now. So the next few days with work, I don't need to worry about cooking when I get home. The beans, I'm just going to steam them. Just steam them. Hey, Jules. You've been watching since I was blitzing the soup. All looks amazing. Is that tin salmon? Yeah, I got the big can, the 415 gram one. I normally use 2 of the small ones, but the 415 gram tins, I didn't realize I haven't used one of those for years. Literally has 2 salmon fillets shoved in it. It's brilliant. But yeah, I don't quantities with this because this is a recipe I've made my whole life and I just learned it from watching mum and my grandmas make it. But oh yum, it's so good. This is really good. I've poshed up one of my childhood favorites and made it a bit more adult. That addition of the white wine and the fennel. Yeah, baby. I will be putting timestamps of my videos when I'm cooking, Jules, so you'll be able to go like when you click on the timestamps in the description, it'll take you straight to when I start making something. I did kind of the soup and the pie did overlap a bit today, but yum. Both of them are 10 out of 10. I'll be back with more cooking on Wednesday. I'm going to be making the pasta I was chatting about and also the baked apples I was going to do tonight, but I can't be fucked. And batshit will also be on Wednesday night with the fabulous Finn. So, guys, enjoy your Sunday nights. If you're in Australia, if you're in other parts of the world, enjoy middle of the night or have a beautiful morning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Our weekend is rapidly coming to a close with Monday looming. Peace be with you too, Medicine Man. Thanks for hanging out. And thank you to everyone for being here. As always, it's fun just to go live. And I cook anyway. I might as well go live and chat to you groovers while I'm doing it. As always, I think we have got the best community on YouTube, and I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. So everyone have an awesome Monday. Oh, you're going to give it a crack next weekend. Please let me know how it goes. And if you're going to be feeding, I can't remember how old your boys are, but if they're little kids, I'd leave the white wine fennel bit out. Although, I mean, the fennel is not overwhelming it. It's just added an extra flavour. There's a little bit of egg there. Oh, shit. Oh, they're okay. Oh, good. But it's still scary, Joey. Thank God they're okay. Yeah, salmon pie, you cannot go wrong. But if anyone makes it, let me know how you found it, because it's just so delicious and affordable, since we're doing affordable cooking. And as you can see from the size of this serving, this dish, it's going to feed a shitload of people too. I'm glad to hear your boys are okay. I'm out of here. Enjoy your night, whatever you get up to. Have a great week ahead. And for those of you that still get half a weekend left, enjoy that too. And much love to your boys, Joey. That would have given you a fright. We'll see you all again very soon. Stay groovy, everyone. And I will definitely give Fluffbutt a smooch for you, Ozzy. See you, groovers.